How much do you really get paid from your 9 to 5? Welcome to Matt's Profit Pursuit. I'm Matt. I'm a part-time reseller who sources at the Goodwill bins and sells on eBay. And I make what sold videos so you see what's selling right now on eBay and break down each sale so you see exactly how much is made after fees, cost of goods, shipping, and taxes are taken out. I got 19 orders going out today. And I've been doing some number crunching on how much I really make from my job. And it just pushes me a little bit more towards reselling full-time every day. So we're talking about that in a minute. But first, let's see what sold. Sold this little goofy plush. I paid 25 or 30 cents for this plush, and it sold for $8 plus shipping. The buyer is all in at $15.91, and after fees and shipping, I get $5.15. Sold this sealed Eric Clapton tape that I got from the Stacy mystery box from Flip the World. And this tape sold for $8.09 plus shipping. The buyer is all in at $12.73, and after fees and shipping, I get $5.25. So for that mystery box, I paid $65.20 all in for 12 items. This is the third item I've sold now. I'm still in the negative, but now I'm only negative $14.56. So this American Eagle sweatshirt, not a good brand, not high price. I just thought because of the pattern that it might do okay, but not something I would pick up again. I paid $1.70 for this sweatshirt, and it sold for $11 plus shipping. The buyer is all in at $21.65, and after fees and shipping, I get $9.13. But the buyer is going to return it because I sold it as a women's, but it's actually a men's sweatshirt. Who knew? Also, they said it's a sweater, not a sweatshirt. I didn't know there was a difference. Same situation here. Prana is a bread and butter brand. I thought this pattern might be kind of cool. I paid $1.35 for this sweater, and it sold for $12.50 plus shipping. The buyer's all in at $22.73, and after fees and shipping, I get $11.16. Now this hat, I so wanted it to be a Nike hat. I found this at the bins, and I'm just like, it's so cool. Look at this thing. So there's no, it's a adjust the size, made in Taiwan. Some of the stitching is kind of loose a little bit, but it's just, I was so hoping that this was like some kind of crazy Nike hat. But I can never find anything similar to it online. I've tried to Google Lens it, and like Thor's helmet would come up, things like that. So I listed it kind of high and slowly lowered the price. In the description, I even said this looks like a certain Nike shoe brand, but it's not. But this would look cool on the shelf next to some shoes. I paid 30 cents for this hat and sold it for $14 plus shipping. The buyer is all in at $19.85, and after fees and shipping, I get $10.87. Sold this lot of 2 die-cast cars, 1 Matchbox, 1 Hot Wheels. I paid $2.79 for these, and they sold for $14.99 plus shipping. The buyer is all in at $25.19, and after fees and shipping, I get $10.25. So this TMNT Krang robot guy. I paid 8 cents for this figure, and it sold for $15 plus shipping. The buyer is all in at $22.52, and after fees and shipping, I get $13.64. Sold this pair of Sorels. I didn't realize it when I bought them, but there's a little bit of separation right there. So I took an offer. I paid $3 for these shoes, and they sold for $17 plus shipping. The buyer is all in at $31.68, and after fees and shipping, I get $11.52. Sold this pair of buckle black jeans. I paid $1.90 for these pants, and they sold for $19 plus shipping. The buyer is all in at $28.35, and after fees and shipping, I get $15.60. Sold another pair of UGG boots. I paid $1.90 for these boots, and they sold for $19.99 plus shipping. The buyer is all in at $28.54, and after fees and shipping, I get $13.41. Sold this pair of Converse. They're like a felt kind of material, kind of cool.
I paid $3.30 for these shoes and they sold for $19.99 plus shipping. The buyer is all in at $36.18, and after fees and shipping, I get $14.55.
These are pretty unassuming, but I've sold them before. They are Nike Comfort, or Comfort Footbed sandals.
I paid $1.10 for these sandals and they sold for $19.99 plus shipping. The buyer is all in at $27.84, and after fees and shipping, I get $17.57.
So this pair of Nikes, I don't think they're Air Force Ones. They're something else, but it's kind of high top, mid Nikes. They have some paint on them there, but they still sold.
So these are the Nike Court Visions. I paid $3.10 for these and they sold for $20 plus shipping. The buyer is all in at $36.10, and after fees and shipping, I get $18.71.
Sold this pair of Tidal boxing shoes.
I paid $2 for these and they sold for $20 plus shipping. The buyer is all in at $28.55, and after fees and shipping, I get $13.41.
So this Patagonia quilted sweatshirt. It's even got a couple bleach stains there on the bottom.
I paid $2.10 for the sweatshirt and it sold for $24 plus shipping. The buyer is all in at $34.88, and after fees and shipping, I get $20.09.
Sold this full zip Jordan sweatshirt for the second time and got returned because the buyer said it did not fit them. So I refunded minus the original shipping and just relisted it, and it sold again.
I paid $3.15 for this sweatshirt and it sold for $24 plus shipping. The buyer is all in at $37.01, and after fees and shipping, I get $19.53.
Sold this pair of Carhartt double knee carpenter pants, distressed and stained up. Even with the belt loop torn. It's the style now.
I paid $2.30 for these pants and they sold for $24.99 plus shipping. The buyer is all in at $35.89, and after fees and shipping, I get $21.21.
It's kind of funny. Growing up, I grew up broke. So I did whatever I could to not look broke. So there's no way I was going to be wearing torn clothes. It's just funny. I went out of my way to try to look like I had, not like rich, but that I wasn't super poor with an apartment filled with cockroaches. But now my kids wear stuff that's all torn up and looking like that that they actually work for a living. It's kind of funny. Sold this pair of like hippie pants, Rising International. I don't know.
I paid $1.10 for these pants and they sold for $25 plus shipping. The buyer is all in at $36.07, and after fees and shipping, I get $23.47.
And this is my highest price sale, but it's also, I paid the highest price for it. It's a $19.99 Skybox Lamar Odom rookie card, a PSA 9. I was on a kick a few years ago, probably 3 years ago at the time, when cards were real hot, getting into cards. And also when the Michael Jordan The Last Dance documentary came out, I heard they were going to do one similar to that about Kobe. So I was buying up a lot of Laker players that won championships with him, thinking that their prices would go up as well. But I finally went through a bunch of stuff and I was like, I just got to list this crap. Even if I take a loss, whatever the market's at, I'm going to list it for that and sit back and see what happens. So this one sold.
I paid $19 for this card and it sold for $27 plus shipping. The buyer is all in at $34.19, and after fees and shipping, I get $21.89.
So a few videos ago I said that one of my tips was to buy a little calculator. Well, I've been using mine and been really thinking about the wage I'm getting from work. Now it's a good amount of money. It's more than I ever thought I would make, and I'm thankful for that. But when I break down the numbers, it kind of makes me sad. So I get paid for 8 hours a day. Pretty standard. Sometimes I work a few hours late, this and that, whatever. Get some overtime. I get paid time and a half for overtime. However, my last pay period, I made sure I got exact hours, and my check was $2,000, give or take, plus some change. So that means you get $1,000 a week to work my 8 hours. That sounds good. However, one of the big arguments with reselling is, what about the time you take to drive to the thrift store and gas and this and that? Well, with the job I have now, I don't write off my miles like I do with my reselling business. The miles I drive to the thrift store and back home, that's an expense that I can write off for reselling. And not to mention, my thrift store, the bins I go to, is 25 minutes away from my house. My work is 45 minutes away from my house. And if I did this full time, I would only have to thrift probably 3 days a week. I wouldn't have to drive there 5 days a week. But let's do one more. So my drive is 45 minutes at least each way. On the way home, it's usually an hour. I have a half-hour lunch that I'm not paid for. So that means I'm out of my house 10 and a half hours a day. I'm gone 10 and a half hours a day. I leave at 6 in the morning. I don't get home until 4:30 in the afternoon, or in the early evening, however you want to look at it. So let's count that. We're counting the time it takes to drive to a thrift store. Let's count the time it takes for me to drive to work. So if it's 10 and a half hours a day times 10 days, so 105 hours I'm gone each pay period. Every 2 weeks I'm gone from my house. So the $2,000 divided by the 105 hours, that means take home in my pocket, I'm taking $19.04 per hour. Now I get with my job, I get benefits, 401k, I guess it's a benefit, but 401k, unemployment, whatever, things like that I'm paying into. At my job, I do get 5 weeks of PTO, but if I worked for myself, I would just take days off whenever I want to. That's not really a up or down for me. But if I worked 10 hours a day in reselling, Monday through Friday, I feel like I can make more than that, and enough to pay for my insurance and all that stuff. I know that's always a big thing. Just go buy insurance. Whatever. Now, I haven't looked into it because I'm not at that point yet. I understand it's expensive, but it's just an expense. You just got to make sure you make enough money to cover it. It seems pretty simple to me. And if I did this full time, I would get an S Corp. My reselling would be an LLC under that S Corp, along with a few other things that we're working on would be LLCs under that S Corp as well. So I would just be a salary employee, get $1,000 a week or whatever I'm doing now. But I would be willing to take less money per week, take home, and even work more hours if I can make my own schedule and do it from home. We have been blessed that we have 7 kids. 2 of those kids are foster boys. So we do foster care, so my wife's able to stay home. That way she can take everyone to the appointments and everything that they need to do. We do DD foster care, which is developmental disabilities. So our 2 boys, they need different physical therapy, speech therapy, things like that. So my wife is able to stay home. So like summertime, I'll be at work and she's like, we're just gonna head to the beach for the day, or we're gonna go to the zoo, or do. And I'm glad, like that's what I want. Like, at the very least, that's what I want. But I would also like to be able to go with them on those things and do that. And I can work late into the night to make up for the hours I didn't. I was taking off to go do stuff during the day. I can work for a while, stop, go hang out with family, come back, do some more work, things like that. And it would just. Yeah, that's the goal. That's the dream. And it's weird to even think about. I'm so ingrained with blue collar, just put your head down and work, grind, things like that. And that has got me to where I'm at now. I started at my job as a temp, as a temp, as an operator on one of the machines. Got hired on before other people who were temps longer than me. Became an operator 1, operator 2, operator 3, faster than other people. Became a shift lead, and now I'm in the quality department. I'm a quality lab technician. No college, barely graduated high school. I just busted my butt and outperformed people, and yeah, and that's it really. Just what I've been thinking about lately. I want to know your thoughts behind it. Do you, if you're part-time, have you put the pencil to paper and pulled out the old calculator and and actually started running some numbers and see where you're actually at. And another thing I've been thinking about is how grateful I am that I'm at 750 subs as of today when I record this. And I feel like I was just at 500, so like the bump from 5 to 6 to 7 was super crazy. I have one video doing really well, which is my kind of parody on Dave's video that he did about Kevin. So it's kind of funny that that's the one taken off, and it was just kind of like a last minute thought when I saw Dave's video. My video was already done for that day, and I'm like, oh, that'd be funny if I did. It was just a thumbnail. I'm like, oh, that'd be funny to do the thumbnail of me doing with just kind of the inception type of thing of the video. It was kind of funny. So that's it for me and my hopes and dreams. Hope I didn't bore anybody too much. Let's break down these sales real quick and get out of here. For those items, including what the buyers paid for shipping, it's a total of $505.46 in sales. After fees, it's $276.41, minus the cost of goods, which is $55.82, and that gives me $220.59. I take 25% and put it aside for taxes, which is $55.14, and that gives me $165.45. Invest 20% back into the business, which is $33.45, and that gives me $132 even. There's about 5.5 hours worth of work, so that's an hourly rate of $24. Thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. Catch you on the next one. God bless. Peace.